What have we here? Yet another central vacuum. Groundbreaking. But this one's actually kind of cool, and I'm fortunate to have this because this is a regional brand that I don't think was ever sold in my area. So even though I have a great supply of traded in central vac units of many different brands, this came to me by way of a trade with a California collector. He had this. I had a Filtex that he said would be cool to have, and I said, well, okay, let's make it happen. So thank you, Jack, for facilitating my ownership of this Beamco Grand Central. Beamco, not Beam, made this in Mountain View, California, and per the date code, this is a 1991 machine. Now, what makes this special is not the vacuum unit itself. It has a Lamb 2-stage 7.2-inch motor. It's a peripheral discharge. You can see the louvers there, but it does have a hole in the housing so that you could stick an exhaust pipe on here and duct it out if you so chose. On top, you can see the cooling air intake. This bracket, quite sturdy, quite a pain to mount, but you know, just fabricated with speed nuts and this and that, made to hang between two studs. Dual intake, so you could pipe it to the left side or the right side. Oddly enough, the intakes are 2-inch Schedule 40, and in fact, this machine was installed with a pre-separator tank, a second thing that looked just like this, but with no motor and no filter. It was just a cyclonic pre-separator. That did not make it to me, sadly. But inside this one, the bucket's just empty. This has a cloth filter that's just held with elastic onto this cone, and you could take this filter out. Oh hi, dirt in a vacuum. Who'd have thunk it? You could take this filter out, clean it, replace it, whatever, and then that would just go back together. So nicely serviceable. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. And they use their own inlets. This is a very old design. It was around since the 60s, and they made it themselves. But what makes this machine cool is what's in here and what's in here and the hose. So I'll go through that. So the inlet doesn't have your standard pin jacks or a switch like some older ones would have had. It has what looks like a giant headphone jack, and this was actually made with what looks like 2 paper clips for the contacts. And the hose end that you would plug into the wall looks like this. So this is probably it's at least 1.5 inches inside diameter. It's quite large, and which is good for airflow. And the end has this jack fitting, and that goes in there to make contact with your 2 low voltage wires. And inside this box, you can see the electronics. This is a solid state switching system. So vacuum guys, at least this vacuum guy, I'm not as familiar with electronics, but I know how a relay and a transformer work. That's how most every central vacuum is controlled. Modern units have the relay and the transformer mounted on a little integrated circuit board, but the concept is the same. The relay to switch a large current load using a small current, and the transformer so that the control circuit can be 24 volts, so that this wire here can be small and doesn't have to be like line voltage building wiring. So this is a solid state switching circuit, but it does something really special. If you notice on the other end of the hose, it has a switch. It also has another headphone jack. I'm calling this a headphone jack. I don't know what it actually is. It's a jack. Here's the power brush. So this unit was sold with pretty generic tools, and the power head, this was never the greatest, this Douglas power head. But what makes it cool is that they've wired a connector onto this so that you can pardon my fumbling. You can take this and you can plug it in here. Now when I hit the switch, the vacuum turned on and the power head just turned on. But there is no separate 120 volt connection. This is a 2-wire hose. This is 2 wires. The power head is being powered off this low voltage wire, and somehow, in a way that my non-electronics brain doesn't really get, this gets the signal to turn on and immediately sends 120 volts down that same set of conductors to run the power brush. That's really cool because it allows you to just run one single small low voltage wire, or it's not a low voltage wire, it's a one single small control wire. You don't need that separate circuit for your power head, because traditionally, as you probably know, the way to run a power head was to have a hose that had a separate cord. So you'd plug the vacuum hose into your vacuum inlet, and then you would plug a cord into a nearby electrical outlet, which is cumbersome at best. The innovation that occurred around this time was that you could get powered wall inlets, and you'd have to run a separate 120 volt wire into each one of those, so you had dual voltage. This was cool because the installation was exactly the same. There was no separate set of wires, and this somehow is able to switch between an activation circuit and a power circuit. Now this is pretty goof proof. If I unplug this, it just turns on, and you can unplug it while it's live or while it's running and nothing happens. And interestingly enough, if I take the power brush and connect it directly, the vacuum turns on and the power brush turns on, which is amazing. So this is awesome technology. Unfortunately, it was not UL approved. They said that if this wire was going to be carrying 120 volts, then it basically has to be standard building wiring. They weren't going to permit line voltage to be sent down little teeny wiring, which seems like a sensible thing. So that's the deal with this machine. And my understanding is that MD Central Vacuums, of which I am a proud dealer, was going to buy this company out and offer this technology on their machines, except for that UL approval thing, which was a sticky bit. So this company was around for long before they started using power brushes. And in fact, I have a vintage brochure here, thanks to eBay. And this shows a unit of the same shape and construction as this guy, as well as larger diameter, shorter, and larger diameter, taller sizes. And you can see that they're making a point to tell you about the handle switch. There is no electric power head here, so at this point the dual state circuitry wouldn't have been used. This would have just been a regular relay and transformer. You can see what's clearly a compact portable vacuum handle and a Preco power brush, a post-war Electrolux rug tool and floor tool, and then the cheap generic crevice upholstery and dusting tools. And this, per the back, is from 1975. So how they happen to be offering what looks like new 25-year-old Electrolux vacuum attachments is a mystery to me. Were these ever sold with this, or was this just for the brochure? Was this like Metropolitan Industries that rebuilt all those Electroluxes? They would give you a great deal on the old tools or something as a you know, could you just order these tools 25 years old but refurbished? We may never know. But anyway, there's a look at a unique central vacuum and its control circuit. If anybody has some insight on how exactly this is doing what it's doing, please comment. The other interesting thing that I'll conclude with after I unplug this is that this module detaches very easily. And I don't know if this was a manufacturing thing, like if they farmed this out and then they just got it and plugged it in when they assembled the box, or if this was a part that was going to crap out regularly enough that they needed to be able to change it. So anyway, there you have it. The Beamco Grand Central.